house. We'll also touch a little bit on the county governments as well, the MCAs at play. We have seen county governors who have been at the helm of anger from MCAs, and which subsequently led to the impeachment process. But the case of Kericho governor is an interesting one because he survived impeachment twice, even as he calls for the disbandment of this particular county assembly. So it's an all-round conversation. We'd love to hear from you this morning. Our SMS feedback line is open to 3059. The hashtag on X is Morning Live. You can also watch us on EBN TV, YouTube and Facebook pages. So let me introduce my guest this morning. On my immediate right, I'm joined by Moses Kimanzi, who's a lawyer and a political analyst. Thank you, Moses, for your time this morning. Karibu sana.
Asante, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And next to him is Nelson Omoyo, who's a political scientist. Karibu sana, Nelson, and good morning.
Thank you, good morning.
All right, I mean, gentlemen, what's the best place to start from other than, perhaps the headline on the Daily Nation this morning that speaks of just where the big problem is at, audit reports that continue to reveal significant looting in the public spaces, and at the center of it, the president says, you know what, we need an e-procurement system. But just perhaps to get your reaction quickly on the sharp problem where ghost hospitals are receiving money. And the ministry has come out and defended and said, there are no ghost hospitals really, but the investigation has been done, and, it's just a worrying state, really. Kimanzi, what's your view?
Thank you, Cynthia, and good morning. Now, if we look at the whole framing of SHA and how it came about, I think the main aim was to loot, in my opinion, because really you do not heal or you do not cure an injured hand by cutting it off and replacing it with another hand, because where you cut the hand at the joint, there will still be an injury. Mm-hmm. So you'd rather cure the existing injury. That is to say that NHIF was functioning quite well, and the few problems that were that existed in the NHIF were problems that could have been solved and cured, and not necessarily being replaced, because we've seen massive problems with the SHA.
Right, but it's been more than a year. Shouldn't we have gotten rid of the teething problems of SHA by now?
Yes, we should. And I think we are living in a country where either people don't care or they really don't read the signs. Because I mean, if you miss your way just by 500 meters or a kilometer, that should show you, I think this is not the way, and you take a U-turn and you try find the right way. So by now, the teething problems of SHA should have started being gotten rid of, but that has not happened, again, because whoever wanted the SHA thing, they are still pushing it for whatever agenda. We've seen hospitals, non-existent hospitals. I was seeing some Manyatta-like structure, which was in existence, which has been in existence for barely 3 months, and they've already started receiving funds in tens of millions, whereas the hospitals that have been existing are not even able to take care of basic things where SHA should be able to cover. So I think we need to have a conversation as a country on where our healthcare system is headed. We can take models from countries where healthcare is working, and we see where they went right and where we are going wrong, because I do not understand what our government officials do when they go for benchmarking and they still come and make the same wrong decisions. They take us through a lot of pain, and it's not the right thing to do.
Right. Yes. Nelson, I mean, this country, if you look at just some of the highlights that have been done this morning, is that we are having bogus employees, people who are looting salaries, non-existent jobs. You're having fictitious schools. Basically, AG's special audit found that non-existent schools pocketed 3.7 billion shillings. You're having learners who as well, you know, we're having 700 million shillings being stolen annually in schools. You're having fake hospitals. Everywhere you turn, there's a problem in terms of systems that are not working or just money being looted. Where is our problem really, basically, in terms of governance?
I think and if I'd first talk about SHA,
Yeah.
I'd say that perhaps we might look at this headlines from another angle. Mm-hmm. It's government trying to market their narrative. Mm-hmm. NHIF was doing quite well, yeah, and maybe a few issues that could be ironed out. However, mm-hmm, the president had to create SHA, and it was forcefully done. Why? Because he needs to create his legacy. He needs to also safeguard a second term. So what happens? We have the Gen Z protests. Then he has to revive his narrative, mm-hmm, distract the masses. What does he do? Ensure that SHA has maybe has scandals, highlight those scandals, yeah, bring them out, ensure that headlines do not have one term. They have a narrative that you are working, mm-hmm, so that people you might be like, hey, the president is overworking. This one deserves a second term. But in real sense, is government selling their own propaganda. Mm-hmm. But looking at maybe issues of having fake hospitals, yeah, ghost workers in government fake institutions, schools, yeah, fake schools, is it a recent problem? It's not. Mm-hmm. Look at our systems. When you walk at Jogoo House, you'll find that there is a quality assurance department, right, that needs to work. It's the minister, the PS, the directors there who should be forced, not forced, but should be made to be accountable, to ensure that things work, that as we give out monies to schools, these schools should be in existence. We have members of parliament sitting in committees that always oversight these things. Yeah. They work there. We have MPs. And that's the beauty of devolution, that we were devolving these functions so that they can be detected before they escalate to be big things. But you see, we fight devolution. Yeah. We do not want, and devolution does not speak about having county governments and county government and the central government. It's also devolving the functions in the ministry, that there is a DEO somewhere seated, that he can tell that we have 15 schools here which receives money from the national government. And this money can be accounted because this school has a population of this number of kids. Right. And I think it's just we don't want to work, but we want to have political conversations that we are working, but in real sense we are not.
Right, and Kimanzi, one would argue that the buck stops with President William Ruto, and at the same time we've seen him really on the forefront of trying to push for, different ways of dealing with this, and that is why we went digital. All e-governments, all services went, to the e-citizen platform as he got into office. We've seen him try to talk about SHA and the differences in terms of NHIF and just how money are now going directly to hospitals, and he's now calling for an e-procurement system. Essentially, one would, from a different point of view, think, oh, he's really working and he's at the forefront of leading in the fight against corruption.
Yes, it would seem that way, but the truth is that we all live in Kenya, and we know that is not the case. We don't have a system problem. We don't have a manpower problem. I think what we have a lack of goodwill to work for the people. when you've talked about the non-existent fictitious schools, you know, one would want to look at it from a point of how do you get your people on the ground to work for you? When you look at the president, there are some key elements that he inherited from the previous administration, which he was also a part of. So that would tell you that this is my guy. When you look at the PS for education, a policy problem. When you look at the e-citizen, it was a very good idea. Over I think 500 government services would be brought under one bracket. And the truth is that midway you could see that money that was passing through e-citizen, there is a problem with it. So there was an attempt to bring all the government funding services under one blanket, so that the people who want to loot can have it easy or can have a field day. I mean, for every government service, there is always something called a convenience fee, which varies from 50 shillings to something more than that. And you could imagine how many transactions are done in a day. And when now it appears like the e-citizen platform is managed by private entities, then that also tells you that the initial plan or the initial intention for decentralizing all those services was not to bring the services closer to the people. It was to bring the cash closer to those who are eyeing it. And now that becomes a problem, Cynthia, because unless we become patriotic and we start seeing public offices and the opportunity to lead and govern people as a calling and not a mere way of enriching themselves. I mean, nowadays, if you want to get rich, just become a politician. That's it. Right. The big office and some of those other bigger offices, and you have yourself an easy life. It shouldn't be like that. We should be able to have a heart to serve the people. But that is not happening. I mean, it is very bad when you hear that capitation has come down from the initial amount of almost, I think, 22,000
to 16.
It is not even 16. If you talk to principals, they will tell you that capitation now is slightly above 9,000, because even out of that 16, it is not disbursed the whole of it, and 5,000 is retained for some fictitious, they call them, there has to be a committee to vet a project to be done with that 5,000. So you can see that schools are struggling, the principals are playing hide and seek with vendors because they are not able to meet their obligations. Right. I mean, nowadays, even those people who do supplies, they don't want to hear supplies to public schools because of the problems that exist. And it's not like we've had a shortfall of income. I mean, right from the third president, this system was working. I mean, the fourth president implemented the same. Why is it that now, all of a sudden, there's no money for capitation for our students? I mean, if you talk to a parent who had a student or a pupil then and now, they'll tell you there's a very big difference, right, and they are really struggling. So it's true that the buck stops with the president, but is he willing to correct the mess? Because as I said, we don't have a structural problem. We have a goodwill problem. I mean, the president has advisors. All the state departments have heads. We have permanent secretaries. We have CSs. And all those people are people who are deemed or meant to be competent. So they know what should be done.
Yeah.
So when you see that what should be done is not being done, then it simply tells you that that person who is supposed to do it is not willing to do it.
All right. Nelson, I'll come to you because Kimanzi has mentioned a very important point on systems, on a no-system problem in Kenya. But if you look at the eCitizen platform, there's been controversy around the ownership, the control of it, as well as the data privacy. So if government is to go the e-procurement system, what protects it from suffering the same fate as the eCitizen platform has? Putting in mind that this is a government procurement centralization platform where all government services basically have to align themselves with the e-procurement way rather than the manual procurement way.
I think first and foremost, we must understand that this thing has been in existence, e-procurement. Mm-hmm. It's that people in government have always not wanted it to function. Reasons, and I think Kimanzi has mentioned it. People fear being cut off from a system. That you are probably head of KEMSA.
Yeah. And
you know the benefit that comes from the procurement process in KEMSA. You'd not want for you to go to an e-procurement system because it will automatically cut you off because you've been benefiting from the other processes before e-procurement. Yeah. But there are a lot of challenges when it comes to e-procurement. Wakili will tell you that there is a system within judiciary called, I think, Gimmicks. And there are times when you want to pay cash bail for your client who is in custody, and then you're told the system is not working.
You have to wait.
You have to wait. The orders were made in court in the morning, but by evening the system is not working. And going the manual way, you have to convince a lot of people in between for your client to be released, or else you'd wait until the system is. Mm-hmm. So at times it's, but you see the challenge that is coming, that we have an e-system, but the functioning might be altered. And also, it may not be altered, but it might fail. What happens? What are the remedies? Has it been told to the users? Are the users, do us or the masses understand what the e-procurement system will, what the benefits, the pros and the cons?
Yeah. And
that needs to be highlighted. But also, of interest, why is the president so interested with the e-procurement?
Shouldn't he be interested?
I don't think so.
I mean, he's the head of government.
Obvious, in politics, when you see someone interested in something, there must be something fishy. We might need to interrogate it further to understand what is the interest in this procurement is.
All right, now
because I listened to Muthomi Njuki, the governor of Tharaka Nithi, talking about the e-procurement, and he specifically talked about them procuring drugs and the challenges that it comes with, because they normally procure drugs from KEMSA, but at times KEMSA do not have drugs that they require in hospital. They have to go to private vendors, and it becomes a challenge when they need to procure.
Right.
Because then it takes a long process to procure using the e-procurement rather than. But also, if you remember, before IFMIS, we usually had a lot of challenges within the financial system of government. But ultimately, people migrated to IFMIS, and it's working well.
Right. Now, Kimanzi, I'd love to call your attention on the headline on the Standard newspaper this morning, that paints a picture of just what could be some of the problems that are facing the government of the day.
Yes.
I remember Rigathi Gachagua, when he jetted back in the country last week and had an interview, one of the things he said is that in a proper democratic state, CS for Health Aid Ndwele should have resigned by now. Yes. Putting in mind what has been ailing the SHA, as well as just some of the damning reports that have come out from it. Now, one other person is the Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen, as well as Road CS, that is Davis Chirchir. Is the problem not just about e-procurement or corruption within the ministries, but also the fact that some of the people surrounding the head of state, one would call even the advisors of the president, are implicated or are heading ministries that have been implicated in serious corruption allegations?
Well, I'll respond this way. Let me first talk about the e-procurement.
Yeah.
Just give my take. What is the e-procurement supposed to cure? Mm-hmm. It's supposed to cure corruption. So if it's supposed to cure corruption, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And we welcome it. However, the president and the governors are not speaking from the same script. So that tells you there is something in between the lines.
That is fishy.
That is fishy.
Right.
That is, it will benefit one person while cutting off the other. And now that is where the problem will be. Because just like SHA,
yeah,
or even when everything went to eCitizen, I'll give you an example. For about a year, we were not able to get new vehicles being registered because there was a problem with one of the applications on eCitizen, which was supposed to pull the data from KRA and give the entry number of vehicles that have paid tax and now being loaded onto the NTSA platform. And it was a problem for a very long time, almost a year. So when we move to the e-procurement, for instance, we are likely to, first of all, halt government services,
yeah,
because there will be a problem with the e-procurement. And that problem will have been, it will have been a man-made problem, because there are people who will work day and night to frustrate the process from picking off, because again, it is going to cut some people off. If I'll tell you the most lucrative part of government is procurement.
Yeah. Of any, not just government, of any
institution.
Yes,
of any institution,
yeah,
and particularly government. And that is a place that is highly guarded. And we are a country where every serious thing that has money factor in it has some elements called cartels. And those cartels are not going to die easily. We know that. And we've attempted in the past to dismantle them, and that is not going to happen. So the conflict between the head of state, yeah, and the head of county governments is going to escalate for a very long time. And as a result, maybe we might not even have the procurement services done for the next 1 year. And after 1 year, we both know that the country will be in top gear campaign mode, yeah, and will not be able to work. And perhaps now the head of state will have a reason to say, now you see the government, the governors did not allow me to do procurement, and that's why we've not been able to work. So give me a second term so that we can fix this. So it's going to be a problem. Now on your question,
yeah,
we have these three gentlemen that you've mentioned. One is Kipchumba Murkomen, who is the CS Interior. Yes. We have Aden Duale, who was who was the CS for defense, and now he has been brought into health. And you can see these are very, very sensitive dockets. We also have Davis Chirchir, who is the only CS who was brought in from the previous administration, and now he's heading the energy docket. When you look at the scandals surrounding from from fictitious and questionable oil imports to unexplained road accidents to the scandals around Shah, would tell you that the three gentlemen would have been out by now. But now, two of these were actually legislators. So they were picked. One was picked from Parliament, the other one was picked from Senate. Yeah. And that would tell you that they are close confidants of the president, and he has to guard them. So when the president took over the reins of power, he chose to govern with politicians. That is a system he only knows why he adapted. Because the former president had adapted a hybrid system where he brought in a few politicians and then experts. That's why you could see, for example, under him, the education ministry was working because he had pulled the then minister for education, who was Dr. Fred Matiang'i, who had been picked entirely nowhere from politics, and he was also replaced by an educationist, the late Professor Magoha. And you could see that there was an attempt to make the education thing work. We could see that they had succeeded in curbing cheating in exams, and a few things had started to be streamlined. But then now when we look at the current scenario, you see that I don't know whether there's a problem with politicians, but I think it's very difficult for politicians to be in governance because they have in their blood, in their DNA, the politics and they have turned this into a political country. The president is announced today, and from tomorrow, we start politicking for the next political cycle, and we will never work. So when you look at that, it will tell you that these three gentlemen are closely guarded, and they are not going to be out of the scenario anytime soon. But we will now have to look and see whether there will be consequences for that. Because I think they've made too many bad decisions. They are making the president to look like he doesn't know what he's doing. Right. And let's wait and see whether there will be consequences in 2027. Because, I mean, if you have advisors, they will tell you this person is not good for the system, or is not advancing what we intend to achieve. But when you see that clearly that is the direction and the person is still being retained there, then you see that there's a big problem. Right. Yes.
Nelson, the former Attorney General Justin Muturi, when he got out of office, one of the things he accused the president of is not listening and, making decisions solely based on what he would want. And if you look at that headline, it brings or paints a picture of a head of state who believes so much in this close circle of friends, such that no matter what happens or what ails these particular ministries, well, they're not going anywhere just yet. Or at least they're going to go somewhere. It's just sort of like, redirection, go to this ministry, head over to the other, and just... and is that one of the biggest problems that we have, that the president favors friendship over basically what should work for the people?
I think the situation is not new. I think there used to be a PS during President Kibaki's time called Summer in the Ministry of Finance, and he writes a book about it's our time to eat, titled It's Our Time to Eat. And he tries to explain of how insiders, people close to power, orchestrate things, they do, they have deals within government, and they are protected by the president. And we normally celebrate President Kibaki as one of the best presidents that we've had, but he had his own flaws. And President Ruto is not that perfect. And see, when you look at the structure, the thoughts of the crafters of the Constitution, they had reasons why we'd embrace a presidential system.
Yeah.
Because they understood that if we get members of parliament to be cabinet secretaries, people will be thinking this position is for Kambas. This one is for Kikuyus. Then they were like, no, let us get technocrats, professionals. Let president select people from other spaces, not from parliament, so that when they come here, they reason like professionals. They give advices to the president. But what do we do? After promulgation, and in 2013, and it started with Uhuru, he appoints people from the legislature. So these people have to come. So they still have the tendency that we used to have. See, during that time, you'll have people, they are called kingpins. You'll have people from Meru having a representative. And if you look at those people, they are more of people closer to the president. Yeah. They will loot. And I've heard stories about the neo-Tizons that Moi did not get his land, the Tizon from Mau, just like that. It was people who wanted to loot. They tell them, Rais, tumeona space, you can have this one. Yeah. But they have already looted and they have annexed a part of the forest. And that's the same thing happening. That if a president that we will elect will adhere to the spirit of the Constitution, it will be like, I don't need to have gatekeeper politician. And there's a famous guy who says they are legacy politicians coming to get cabinet secretary positions or PS. You'll have people who are more professional. So should the head of state avoid legislators at all? Not just this head of state, but also future head of states? I think that should be the way forward, unless if you think a president will always look at a character of someone, before he appoints them to a position. Because legacy politicians, as we've seen, they always think about, when they go for rallies, they'll think about their people. Because that's his political base. And if things go awry, he will go back to these people. But anyone who is a bit professional will want to guard his character. Because Dwale is not worried, because he can go and his people will receive him. But Kimanzi here, if he is appointed somewhere, he will want to guard his professional, his character. He'll want to, when he walks to another space, people will see him as a person of good character. He can work there. But for politicians, that doesn't count. All right. Now, when the broad-based government came into play, they signed a 10-point agenda. And one of the issues that they really kept on talking about is fighting corruption in government. But 1 year later, that's still a huge problem. And listening to the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury, John Madi, who we all know is a product of the broad-based government, this sounds like what Raila Odinga would popularly always say, our experts and their ideas on what we want to bring to the table. Sounds like a Mbadi idea, but is being pushed at a higher office, like the president's office. And who knows, probably Raila Odinga will talk about it as well, the e-procurement system. Well, I'll echo sentiments from my friend here, that politicians only have one agenda,
and that is watu wetu. And as long as a politician is driving an agenda, that agenda has to have our watu wetu effect in it. So they do not consider political consequences.
Yeah.
And they also do not consider being in good books with the people, as long as you've heard that when things go south, the government way, they will go back to their people. The Honorable Moses Kuria is no longer in government, but he's in the political space, all right? And so, when you look at what politicians want to achieve and what they bring in government, remember, Mbadi is also a politician. Yeah. Yes. And the so-called 10-point agenda was just a fictitious document to convince the people that, you see, we are coming in to assist the president. All right? They were not reading from the same script. I even remember one of those people was asked in an interview to explain the bottom-up economic model, and they could not. But you see, you are in government, purportedly driving policies that you also do not understand. So what happens is that just like these three gentlemen that we have discussed, the so-called experts, in quotes, who are brought into government are also cronies of the former PM, Raila Odinga. And so what they are doing is that they are safeguarding his interests when they are there. All right? All right. So the 10-point agenda was just a hogwash to just make people not complain too much, because the undertones, the political undertones there were that it was untenable for the government to work with the opposition. So they had to look for a way to convince their people that, look here, we have come into government to solve this problem. But you and I should ask ourselves, is there any problem that has been solved? No. I would say of all the presidents we had, the only president who was interested in curing corruption was President Kibaki. And he was also not able. And therefore that should tell you that we have a deeper problem than we think. So it is a comfortable statement to say that we will do away with corruption. But deep down, it is very difficult to do that, because nobody wants corruption to be done away with. If today we did away with corruption, a lot of people would be jobless. A lot of people would go to jail because you are caught in a traffic offense, and the first thing you do as a Kenyan is to tell Afande, please, Afande, let us talk. I don't have time for us to go through the process. And therefore, it's just a culture that we have inculcated over a very long period of time. And we found it that way. Probably we will leave it that way. And whoever will cure that problem will have a very long way to go, because we are governed by cartels. Look at our estates. We have people who supply water, for example. They will not allow the county government to bring water so that they can have business. All right? We have people who do the exhauster business. Those guys will make sure that the drainages don't work so that they can be in business. So if we are talking of doing away with corruption, if you tell a traffic police officer today to just live by their salary, their children will not go to school. That's the truth. All right? And so we have to look at who benefits from corruption and how will ending the corruption help them, not the common good, because it starts with you and them. So, I mean, every system, especially government system, is designed to fail. You go, you find charters and policy statements, we will do this within 3 days, go and apply for that service. 6 months down the line, it has not been done until you go through certain proxies who are known to these people. And the process will be fastened earlier, sooner than you think.
Right.
So we have again to look at it as a national problem.
Right.
It is not a president problem. It is not a government problem. It is a Kenyan problem.
It's rooted
we
in it.
are corrupt. And as the people say, we, like you and I and every other person, is only not known to be corrupt because we've not been given an opportunity to be in those seats of power. Maybe if we get there, we will be worse than those who are there. So again, we have to change the culture that we have as Kenyans and actually start being good people, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think if we head like this, 2 generations from now, we are going to have a very bad country.
Yeah.
Yes, to say the least.
Nelson, one can almost predict that this call to have an e-procurement system will receive a one government approach. Essentially, we'll start listening to members of parliament talking about it, senators, at least those within the broad-based government or who equate themselves as broad-based legislators, will start supporting this. And essentially, it will be from all quarters, all pushing for an e-procurement system. And at the end of the day, really, it sounds like if an idea comes to the table and receives a broad-based backing, then it's a good idea.
Yeah, but looking at the Kenyan context, the political space, whatever is always spearheaded by the politicians in Kenya is never a good thing.
Yeah.
Look at finance bill. Every MP will, even with the many calls from the masses that, yes, you are spearheading this thing,
right,
we don't feel like it's a good thing. They could not call themselves in a meeting and discuss. Maybe we should listen to these people.
Mm.
See what governors are saying is those are valid points. They need to be listened. The president is not always right, and that narrative of the president is always right. He sets the agenda, and everyone sings to his tune. Should stop. See, I think a few years ago when there were calls for Jacob Zuma to resign, people thought it was a joke until it happened. Then they started listening to what was happening in his government. And that was a state capture. There were proxies doing business with government, and they were guarded by the presidency and some of the cabinet members of his administration. And that might be happening in Kenya, because government is all about cartels. Everyone is a cartel in politics. They will want to safeguard the interest of this one because this one is my political ally. This one might want to safeguard. But at times in politics, we need to change how we do our politics. Yeah. We need to be honest with each other. See, like I normally say, our constitution was created for good people, an ideal society. But we are not that ideal society. We are the real people. We are a mixture of bad people and good people. And the crooked people will always survive in this society because they know the lacunas. They know how to skip the ropes within our systems. They know how to, even with systems, they know how to survive.
Yeah.
So the procurement, yes, it's a good thing. But can we debate? Can we have a conversation about it? These people are giving a valid point. You too have a valid point. But can we agree so that we can all drive in one direction?
Right.
Because ultimately, we might agree. Because even Goldenberg, people agreed that, yes, we can do this. This is a good deal. Government will have money. But at the end, government was the casualty.
Right. Okay, as we conclude this conversation, just from you, Kimanzi, as a lawyer, will this require any sort of public participation for people to be able to just voice their opinion on what this e-procurement system should be all about in terms of maybe the data privacy, the control of it, the ownership? Will that be a critical process, if at all government services are to go, or agencies are to go this way?
Well, thank you. I would say yes and no. Yes, because anything that touches on the public should have the public give their input about it. And most of the things that have been taken to court successfully was one on the account of lack of public participation. But again, we can see that as Nelson has said, we are not a perfect or an ideal society. So even the public participation, the so-called public participation, has been turned into a just mere PR exercise, formalities where people just sit in a public baraza for 2 minutes and it is documented that they did public participation. I would say that nobody has the monopoly of wisdom. And that is why a leader should be surrounded by good advisors and a good team to be able to execute that which he intends to. The presidency has a department called the Presidential Delivery Unit. I don't know whether you know about it. So when the president says, this is the direction that we intend to go, part of that Presidential Delivery Unit are legal minds. They advise him on the legal implication. Part of those are political scientists. They advise him on the political implications. And so when an idea is brought and it is pushed in a way that has been seen not to have passed through all those checks, it really means either the leader is not listening to advice or he doesn't have good advisors. Because as I said, we have good brains in Kenya. And when you see some decisions being made, for example, the finance bill, like he has said, it was just an idea of you people don't matter, we are going to do it either way. And so it should be a matter of concern that the president should be willing to listen to all the stakeholders involved. I mean, if you're going to do e-procurement is not only going to affect the national government, it's going to affect the county governments as well, because of the devolved functions. One of them is health, another one is education,
housing, education, right,
agriculture, and all those things are going to call for procurement. So the right thing that he should have done, in my humble opinion, is that he should have first called for a meeting with the 47 governors. So they sit down, he gives them the blueprint of his vision, because we do not have 48 separate governments. We have county governments and a national government that are supposed to lead as one government. And if they are not going to agree on that, it is going to be a problem, whether we do public participation or not. So an idea can be noble, an idea can be bad. How it is brought will determine its success. It can be made, you see, I can suggest a bad idea and you agree to it just by the way that I have brought it. And I can also suggest a good idea and you water it down on the basis of how I have I have brought it. So any idea that the government wants to implement, first of all, there should be experts who are going to sit down and debate it in a proper way and in an unbiased way. They give proper recommendations, and if need be, if it needs to come to the public can also be brought into the picture. But again, the framers of the Constitution didn't anticipate that every small thing should be brought to the public, and that's why powers are delegated in the Constitution by the people, either through themselves or their elected representatives. But we again have a culture of elected representatives who go to propagate their own agendas instead of the agenda of the people. Just the other day, there were allegations of bribery in the Senate and the National Assembly. And those people were very uncomfortable. So whether it was true or not, then that begs the question, why do we have representatives who cannot represent us the way we would want to be presented, or the same reason why we sent them there, they go and work. But we have people who are doing deals and becoming cartels in those offices. So you find that even the noble things that are supposed to be done are not being done because there is a lot of vented interests by parties. So I would say that public participation would not be necessary if this idea is fronted the right way. But again, if it is fronted just like every other idea that comes up, I would also want it to be brought so that I be among the first people to say no to it, because it is not going to cure the corruption. At the end of the day, it will depend on whether the people who implement it will allow it to be implemented or not. A system can be manipulated to fail. And that's why even the electoral system, they will tell you that we have the primary system and a backup system, just in case, in quotes. The primary system does not.
All right. Nelson, I'd like to also have your views to wrap it up. Could there be any political implications about this decision on the Kenya Kwanza government or the broad-based government? Because governors disagree with it. Is this likely to cause any sort of political ramifications ahead of 2027?
I think it will, but how I look at the structure of our politics. First, the Constitution says that the president is a symbol of national unity. But you see, these 47 governors are elected from counties. They also are symbol of unity within their counties. So at times, having a conversation with them then brings the national unity, the national unity aspect for the president. He is able to have a picture of what these counties will want. But you see, the president, the reason why the president might be driving this agenda, might be because, and I've said it before, might be he wants to be seen working. He wants to safeguard his second term. Probably that will change the equation. Also, he wants to change the narrative within our paper, because everyone reads the paper. He'd want to divert people's attention from what people want to appear in the newspaper. Because I used to see the Standard a few months ago, and the headlines were shocking. They were anti-government. But if you look at every day, the president going to a public rally says something that probably, and then other people illuminate the conversation the president is starting. Probably it's his strategy. He has been in government for long. He was one of the key members in YK 92. He knows how to change the narrative within the masses. He knows how today we are talking about maybe the president not safeguarding his second term, but he thinks ahead of us. Like, let me talk about procurement. This conversation might even go in parliament and they'll spend like an hour debating about it. Then it will appear in headlines. Apart from appearing in headlines, there are some few journalists who will want to pen something about it within the paper. So whatever people want to be in the headlines won't appear. Then opposition politicians may lose the media cameras, and the focus will change drastically. And that way, he might sell himself for a second term.
Okay. All right, I'd love to have your final word, Moses Kimanzi, in a few minutes. Final word as we wrap it up.
Final words. First, let me first give my input on that as well, and that is, you see, any publicity, whether good or bad, it is publicity. And I was hoping we would conclude on the MCA's issue.
Right, we are out of time.
But it seems we are out of time. I would say that we are lacking cohesion. And right now, where the president sits, he's interested in working for his second term. And so he will use every available opportunity, and he will do whatever he thinks will earn him a second term. Whether it succeeds or not, it's a matter of wait and see. So I would say that if properly enacted, this e-procurement can actually seal a lot of loopholes in government and the way government is done. Because again, we have laws. For example, if you work in government, you're not supposed to do business with government. But you and I know that that is not the case. So we have a lot of good intentions, but they don't end up rolling because, again, of vented interests. So, I mean, if this e-procurement has to work, all the stakeholders have to be brought on board, and they have to consent. Because, again, the governors speak for the people, the president speaks for the people, and everyone in their own right and from where they sit has influence over their people. So let them sit down, look at what is good for the people, and let them bring it to us. I would talk about the MCA and governors thing and say that the MCAs were elected to work, and so was the governor. Can they find a way of removing drama from the equation? Because when you sit down and listen to impeachment proceedings, you will realize that there are some people who do not understand why they were elected. All right? And so let the MCAs not abuse the privilege that we gave them in the Constitution to remove a sitting governor in office over things that have been clearly stipulated in the Constitution. You cannot just wake up and say we want to impeach the governor. And again, it is halfway a legal process and also a political process. If, for example, the current drive that is going on in Nairobi to impeach the Nairobi governor, that I would say is a far-fetched dream, because he's deeply rooted both with the presidency and the broad-based government. And those were the two key players who brought MCAs in Nairobi. So you are not likely to succeed in that war. So MCAs would rather sit down and legislate and oversight and wait for 2027 to maybe make amends if they so wish. But I would think that that idea is ill-timed, and it is not likely to yield the desired results. Because again, politically, the governor is smart. He knows where to seek protection. And just like the three gentlemen
He's protected.
We talked about. He's not anywhere going to go anywhere anytime soon,
Yeah.
and we better we better just make ourselves comfortable with that fact
Yes.
and allow him to work, so that again we will not have a 2027 where someone will say 2 years I've been running legal battles and I was not able to work for the people. So MCAs, please do your work. Governors, please do your work. Senators, do your work. Legislators, MPs, do your work. And the president as well, do your work. And everyone in the administration, you are called there to work. And we will not only be accountable to the people, but we will also be accountable to God.
Right.
Let that part sink.
Yeah.
And let's have a better Kenya.
All right. Thank
Yes.
you, Moses. Nelson, in a few minutes as we wrap it up.
I think a quick one first for what's happening within our county assembly. I think most of them are doing their jobs, but probably, like Kimanzi has said, some do not know what their role is and how the process should always be. Because you see, first, the county assembly does not impeach the governor, they initiate the process. And lastly is impeached by the Senate. But you see, looking at those charge sheets in the Senate and the debates, most of the time it's a waste of time. And we've used a lot of resources to get to the Senate to impeach. Probably we should also come with a law that will always punish someone who comes with allegations that are not backed up, so that it might cure this disease, because we will be having it. Even if you look at even the impeachment of the deputy president, Gachagua, probably there were a lot of issues, but he was supposed to be sacrificed. And my parting shot, probably we as a country, we need to work. Everyone needs to do his work. The president first, we are from the system where the president was an imperial leader. He is a leader, and he ought to know, to understand that. The governors need to safeguard their space in the politics of our country. They need to speak out. If they feel like the president wants to bulldoze something, they have to speak up. So even the other leaders will understand that our roles are not just to be rubber stamps of what the president is saying or any other person. People need leadership. Leadership should be consultative. That we need to have a rational way of coming up with policies and ideas that will govern us. But the bulldozing bit cannot work in our country at this stage and time.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time this morning. Moses Kimanzi on my immediate right, who's a lawyer and a political analyst. Thank you for your input, as well as Nelson Omoyo, who's a political scientist as well. Thank you very much for your input this morning. We hope that you have had, various point of views from this discussion to just shape the conversation forward on this e-procurement system. We'd love to continue hearing from you on what your thoughts really are concerning this. We'll be keeping tabs with it on just what happens today, even as the Council of Governors have called for a crisis meeting to talk about this, says it's going to affect their county budgets, in what way, how, and just, what the future for this e-procurement system looks like, as some of the conversations we'll continue to have. Thank you for watching. My name is Cynthia Nanjala. Have yourself a wonderful morning ahead.